Welcome into Seahawks Today. I am your host, Will Ortner, and boy, oh boy, Seahawk fans, do I have good news for you. The Seattle Seahawks have some good news on the injury report that we're going to dive into, and of course, the Seattle Seahawks made a very, very smart signing to the practice squad. We're going to talk about both of those factors on today's show, but before we do that, I need you to get pumped up for back-to-back wins. This is the 1 week all year where Seahawk fans have the opportunity to not have one victory Monday, but a victory Monday and a victory Friday. So make sure that you smash that like button, and we'll get into today's show. Now, you had 4 Seattle Seahawks that missed the game on Sunday against the New Orleans Saints. Fortunately for you Seahawk fans, fortunately for me as a Seahawk fan, we frankly didn't need them. However, on Monday, Seattle had a practice report come out, and all 4 who missed were in some way a participant in Monday's activities. Now, this player might be all the way fixed. Zach Charbonnet, your two-headed monster, the second head to your two-headed monster at the running back position, was a full participant in practice. That is a good sign because he missed that New Orleans Saints game with a foot injury. Now, I fully expect him to be playing on Thursday. In fact, I think if you weren't playing the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday night, he probably plays on Sunday. This was just one of those deals where, hey, you're going to absolutely smoke the New Orleans Saints. Mike McDonald, Clint Kubiak, they probably sat Charbonnet down and said, hey, man, we don't need you for this one. We need you for sure on Thursday night. And so he sat it out. And look, despite that butt whooping, that running game, they really did miss Zach Charbonnet. Now, I'm not saying that it was an imperfect system, and frankly, I don't want to sit here and bash all of the other running backs. I thought they had an okay performance. I thought the offensive line was okay. But sometimes you need that hard-nosed downhill runner, and that's exactly what Charbonnet is. Now, I'm not going to jump on Kenneth Walker. Obviously, after his performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers, everybody still knows he's got juice in the tank. In fact, I had to issue a couple apologies on a couple different videos. But he did not fare well against that New Orleans Saints defense. 38 yards is just not good enough. He was under 2 yards a carry, or right at that 2 yards a carry mark, under 3 yards per carry. And frankly, I understand that some of his big runs were called back because of holding, but it wasn't good enough for me. In my eyes, it felt like he was looking for that big play, and there are some teams where you're just not going to be able to get that big play. Now, Jacardia Wright, I know it's mop-up duty, cleanup time. He, in my eyes, was your best running back because Holani fumbled. Kenneth Walker's average was down. He had a pretty good game. He only ended up having about 5 or 6 carries in this one. That's a pretty good clip. The offensive line, they're not blameless in this one as well. They need to do a better job of opening holes. There were a couple times where Kenneth Walker was getting hit in the backfield, and it just kind of is what it is. But when you have a game where the offensive line is getting beat, you need a power back. And that's what Zach Charbonnet is. He is going to be able to get the hard yards. We saw it week 1 against the 49ers. The 49ers were in the backfield consistently against this offensive unit, and I don't think that they had a bad run game plan. In fact, I still think they got away from it too soon, but they needed to rely more on Charbonnet. It felt like if Charbonnet was able to go against the New Orleans Saints, they could rely on him there. Who knows? This Arizona Cardinals defense has been kind of back and forth. You might need Charbonnet in those power run schemes, in those power running situations to step up for you on Thursday if you want to get a big victory there. I got some other good news that I want to get into, but before I do that, I need to talk to you about today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on any 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if your picks are right, you could cash in. Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I was playing Prize Picks this weekend. Honestly, should have been using the flex play option. You can see the photo that I have here for my 2-pick power play on Thursday night. Kyler Murray against this defense, less than 216.5 passing yards. Sam Darnold against the Cardinals defense, more than 214.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now we're diving back into the rest of the players who were on that injury report who didn't play on Sunday. Zach Charbonnet, fully believe that he's going to go on Thursday. These three, I'm not entirely sure. Now, Julian Love, he was dealing with a hamstring injury. This was something that was nagging him when you played the Pittsburgh Steelers week 2. He was able to give it a go. Again, I think this is kind of similar to the Charbonnet thing where, hey, we're not going to need you to win this game. How about you sit out? We'll get you back in and get you healthy, get you ready to go for a game that we absolutely have to have. Nick Emmanwori and Devon Witherspoon, on the other hand, they missed back-to-back games. Now, all three of these guys, limited participants in practice on Monday. I do have to specify, though, Monday they didn't practice. What they did was have other team activities. So they were limited in whatever participation they were engaging in, whether that's walkthroughs, if they were in the weight room lifting, those kind of deals. Now, I believe that this is a positive sign for all three players. If you're a limited participant, Devon Witherspoon, Nick Emmanwori, there was already talk from Mike McDonald last week about them getting out, moving, trying to get them going during practice. This is probably a similar idea here. Having gone through the rehab process before myself, sometimes what you need to do on a day where everybody else gets it off because you didn't go and bang on Sunday, you need to get out, move, and get the juices flowing, get running around. And so in my eyes, I think that you are going to get at least one, if not two, if not all three players to play on Thursday night. But I can't guarantee it. Despite what my Twitter says, I am not a medical doctor. All of this being said, well, I think you're going to be a better team once you get all three of those players back in your secondary. I think that this defense has done nothing but earn my trust and your trust with how well that they have been playing. You can right now just dive over into the cornerbacks. Look at how well Josh Jobe has played. When you look at any of the statistical anomalies for that cornerback room, he's at the top. Aside from a bad pass interference call here, a bad holding call there, he has been lights out. Reek Woolen has taken a step forward the last 2 weeks. He was the scapegoat when you lost to the 49ers. He has not been that since that game. He's taken, his lumps. He's moved forward. He's in a good spot. Darian Kendrick right now has more interceptions in that nickelback position because he's your third nickelback, Witherspoon being out, Emmanwori being out. He has 2 interceptions right now. The team that cut him in the preseason, LA Rams, they have 1. That's how good Darian Kendrick has been in that nickel spot. So I trust the corners. When I look over at the safeties, who would be filling in for Julian Love, Kobe Bryant's already got an interception on the year. He's been flying around, making plays. And Ty Okuda, someone who came into last week's game, me being fearful of how he performed because he did not perform well against the San Francisco 49ers, he stood on his head. He was one of your top tackle getters. When you have a guy like that who's your third, fourth string safety, you're doing pretty freaking well. So do I think that you can win this game without one of these three guys over here? Yeah, I do. I think that you can beat the Arizona Cardinals without them. But that does mean that everyone has to raise their level of play. If you get any of these three guys to play in this game, it's an added bonus, and it keeps adding strength to a defense that myself, Mina Kimes, and a bunch of other experts have already said is elite. Now, I've given you my opinion. I think that you're probably going to get one of these guys between Love, Emmanwori, and Witherspoon to come out and play. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Seahawks are going to get 0 on the injured report, 1 player, 2 player, or 3 players? Let me know down below in the comments. Now, the smart signing that you had is the running back Khalil Herbert. Now, you might look at that picture on the screen right now and say, Will, that's not Seattle Blue. That's because he was with the Indianapolis Colts in the training camp preseason time. You went in and you said, Herbert, we think you can add some great depth to this running back room. And frankly, I agree with John Schneider. You look at his last 4 seasons. In fact, this ends up being his entire career in the NFL. Herbert has been a great depth piece. Now, most of his years he was playing over in Chicago with the Bears, so you have to add that in when you're looking at, oh, hey, maybe his rushing numbers aren't super great. Well, he's behind David Montgomery. He was behind Swift. He's behind all these other great running backs, and he's working in as that 3. You need that third running back. Look, George Holani looked great in the preseason. That doesn't mean there can't be an injury there. You already have had Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker miss time this year. Charbonnet missing it last week. Kenneth Walker missing time in training camp. You need a running back that gives that room depth. You need a veteran. Look, I trust Holani. I trust Jacardia Wright. But they're also young players. Herbert, that's a guy who's been around the block a time or two. He knows what to expect. He's already earned the NFL pension. So he knows how to prepare like a true backup running back needs to. Look at this backfield. I'm not up here saying that George Holani needs to go. I'm not saying that Zach Charbonnet needs to go. Kenneth Walker. I'm not even saying that Jacardia Wright needs to go. But what Khalil Herbert gives you is depth in a position that is constantly banged up and is constantly beat up. You leave him on the practice squad for a little bit. If you need to call him up, you can call him up. Or if he comes out and he has a great couple weeks of practice, maybe you move him into that third spot. Maybe you carry 4 running backs for a week. Robbie Utes is already banged up a little bit, so maybe you are having an extra spot there if he's unable to go. So I love this signing. I think it's a smart idea by John Schneider. They had Herbert come in, worked out, and he worked out well for the group. Real ones, you stuck all the way through. You might as well subscribe to the channel and make sure that you comment down below real ones. So that way I know that you're a real one. And thank you so much for watching all the way till the end of the video. Until next time, I'll see you later.